We'd now like to lead a panel discussion with our three esteemed thought leaders. And the discussion is really going to be focused on, again, how to drive change through entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. And again, we have three different types of thought leaders, three different types of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. So we have a thought leader from the academic perspective. So this is our resident academic, the professor, Dr. Burke. And then we have the resident practitioner, entrepreneur extraordinaire, who is our practitioner industry executive, Mr. Rocco Camiso from MediaCom. And then we have the bridge in between the two, Dr. Ashifi Gogo, who is our scholar practitioner, which means he teaches at Columbia University at the School of Professional Studies, and he also, as we heard, is the CEO of Sproxel, so he is a scholar practitioner. So we're going to spend a few minutes now talking about some issues related to being an entrepreneur or being an intrapreneur that they spoke about, and so I'd like to welcome you all once again to the stage to talk about these issues. So let's get started and talk about a recent topic in the news, and that is the incident that happened with United Airlines. So United Airlines has proven that communication is a skill that is critical for the success and reputation of an organization. And whether you do it well or whether you do not do it well, it has a significant impact on your people, on your market, on your product. All three of you have talked about the skills and qualities that you need in order to be a successful entrepreneur or a successful intrapreneur. And what I'd like to hear from you is, can those skills that you spoke about be learned, or are they innate, meaning you were born with them? So I'd like to start with you, Professor Burke. You talked a lot about learning agility, so I think I can guess your answer, but can the skills that you spoke about, being a successful entrepreneur, be learned, or are they best reserved for people who already have that capability and profile?
Yes, they can be learned. Next.
I knew I could guess, so we did well in your class.
Let me put it this way. In order to be agile as a learner, you have to have a certain degree of learning ability. You have to be able to learn in the first place. So you have to reach a certain threshold of learning, and then after that, I don't think it makes much difference. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like creativity. Creative people have to have a certain amount of intelligence and have to reach a certain threshold of that. After that, there's no correlation. So after you reach the ability that you have, you can learn like crazy. Irrespective of how bright other people might be, you're just as able to do it as others.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Ashifi, you spoke about the skill needed to build coalitions, particularly in large organizations. Can that be learned?
Yes, and you could learn from environments where you try and end up not being successful and try and try and try again. And in order to get better at building coalitions in large organizations, it's actually helpful to experiment with different organizational cultures. If you are in, say, the banking industry, where coordination or collaboration, no one wants to follow really. It's actually a little bit harder to build these coalitions than other industries where people are more collaborative. There's more collective thinking. Perhaps government might be a softer sandbox to play in to learn these skills. But environmental or practical hand based learning is actually quite useful and something that you can practice within your organization even when you're not yet an entrepreneur, because it's a useful skill to have in several dimensions in life.
Thank you. And so Rocco, you go from the largest pizza shop or the pizza delivery organization in the Bronx to owning a disco, and I'd love to see those pictures, to being in banking, to developing the largest or fifth largest cable company, to owning a professional franchise. You spoke about hard work, you spoke about integrity and honesty, you talk about the passion of leadership and being a good service provider for your people and their families. Can all of that be learned, or is it something that you yourself had to develop over time? Or were you born with it?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is in here. So I don't know if you could teach this. Follow me? Hard work is hard work. I don't know if somebody wants to be a bum. Are you going to teach them to hard work? All right? Look, I'm 67 years old. I bought the Cosmos on January the 10th. New York Cosmos, for anybody who's not aware, is the most iconic soccer brand, professional soccer brand, from America to the entire world. Okay? Very successful in the 70s. And I found myself in a situation where if I didn't step in, I had to, the team would have failed again and closed shops, and a lot of people would have lost their family, their jobs, players, front office staff. And on January 10th, I had no team, no players, no front office, no field to play on, not one ticket sold, no advertising, no TV rights sold, no television sold. I had to go like this, the way I've always done it. Says, all this stuff's got to get done because the first game is on April 1st. And so a lot of work was involved. And what I find, if I could digress a little bit, you need to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a pretty good leader, meaning you have to lead by example, right? So I found in work all the hours that I did in the last 2 or 3 months, and I don't have to do it. I'm not doing it because I'm going to make money out of this thing. I'm doing it because I came from my heart. I wanted to give something back to the game that meant so much to me. I played soccer at Columbia, and I worked like crazy in the last 7 days a week. But people said, but Rocco, don't you have a company called MediaCom? Well, 99% of my work is with the Cosmos in the last 2 months, 3 months, and 1% is with MediaCom. Why is that? Because at MediaCom, I already have a phenomenal group of people that have been with me for a long period of time. They know what they do. They don't need me to hang around, tell them what to do. The Cosmos, I need to lead them at this particular time. So you got to step in, go in, dive and do whatever you have to do to save it. So right now, you know what I'm doing right now? I'm trying to sell tickets to the audience. Actually, I told somebody, I said, that's what I used to do when I was young and hungry. Now that I'm old and fat, I want to give some tickets away, all right?
So earlier in my career, when I was first starting out, a mentor of mine gave me professional advice and said, build your own personal board of directors. It's a group of people who can give you advice along the way as you build your career, as you embark on your professional trajectory, so that you have a source of people to go to who can help you be successful. What is the best professional advice that you all have gotten? And Rocco, I'll turn back to you. What is the best professional advice you've gotten that helped you in your career?
Well, I'm going to turn around and say, like you said, the best professional advice I ever got is to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm talking about within my family, professional. You have no idea how I've tracked over a lifetime the do's and don't do's. People that want to go too fast, look at the AOL thing, right? I mean, they built a phenomenally successful, the largest media entertainment company in the world, to see over less than a generation disappear from the face of the earth. In a couple months, Time Warner's not going to have a name anymore, okay? Not Time Warner Cable and not Time Warner Inc., which is HBO and Turner. So that's what I could offer that. I can't say there's one person that got me going. It was my parents, actually, right? I mean, they taught me something. But I think if I were to give an advice to someone, it says, track other people, emulate what you want to be. Find out what made them successful, where did they make the mistakes, and try to avoid the mistakes that they made. But, try to follow their successes, whatever they may be. And that's been the way I've lived my life. Now, it doesn't mean that's the only way entrepreneurs are made, but that's what's been successful to me.
That's good, yeah. Ashifi, how about you? What's the best professional advice you've ever been given?
I happened to discover this the hard way. When I was a graduate student at Dartmouth, our professor gave us this assignment that actually did not have an answer. But she didn't tell us it didn't have an answer. It was this math problem. So we spent the whole weekend crunching away at this math, hunting down some Russian authors who may have an answer. I mean, we were desperate. We were desperate to find an answer, and there wasn't one. And weren't able to discern that there wasn't one because the authority with which the professor bestowed the assignments, you better come up with an answer. And it turns out that when she worked out the problem, she just ignored a few of the terms that wouldn't really contribute to the totality of the answer and got an answer that was good enough with some error bars around it. Yeah. And that was the answer. And so it taught me through the very hard, painful weekend math retreat that I didn't sign up for, that the power of approximation is a really strong tool to enable decision making, which I use in business today. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be just good enough to be able to give you insights to get to the next phase where you get more information to make better decisions. And practicing that has been very useful in my life.
That's good. So Warner, I'll turn to you with a slightly different question. So,
wait just a minute. Do all Dartmouth professors manipulate their students?
They're not at Columbia, that's for sure. So Warner, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, he's been self-professed nano manager, meaning a micromanager. And so some have argued that being a nano manager, a micromanager, those kinds of tendencies stifle creativity and stifle innovation within a company. So through your research, have you found any mindsets or challenges associated with entrepreneurs that prevent them from being the best that they can be?
Yeah, being micromanaged. Absolutely. I mean, the long-term value of that company is questionable if he continues that kind of process. Because what you do is stifle creativity. You don't allow people to, understand what they can do, what they can't do, and so forth on their own. So it is deadly. It really is. And what's really important, back to the what you learned from in terms of the best advice you got. The best I got was to know who I am. And to try to understand myself. Rocco said it in terms of hitting himself right here and knowing what's there. That's really what I mean. Self-awareness is key. And the research on this, by the way, is now really quite evident. Self-aware people are more high performers than those that are less so. So just add my 2 cents on that. I had to put a little bit more research into this damn thing. So.
This is the opportunity.
Yeah.
So Ashifi, we here at Columbia are approaching the countdown for graduation. Graduation is a time every year for us to look back and see what we might have done differently for our students, for our faculty, for the educational experience. It's an introspective opportunity to think about how we can do an even better job moving forward. So when you think about the work you've done with Sproxel and the way in which you've developed this innovative tool that can identify counterfeit medicine all over the world, and now it's being translated into other products as well besides medicine. What would you do differently at any point in that journey from developing that company? What would you look back and say, I wish I had done this differently, knowing what I know now?
There's really some truth to slow and steady wins the race. When we first raised our round of funding from Acumen, counterfeiting is a $600 billion global problem just for pharmaceuticals alone. And so any country that came up and contacted us that said, we have a counterfeiting problem, we were willing to go plant a flag right there because we had to save everybody all at once right now. And we were not patient enough. We wanted to be everywhere at once, and we spread ourselves very thin, and we had to work backwards to reorganize ourselves and scale up and expand to different industries, but actually focus on some real target areas. And so it's helpful to go slow sometimes, and make sure that you have a strategy that is sustainable, that can enable you to get to a future landmark that has more expanse.
Rocco, so you recently, as you said, purchased the New York Cosmos and have now developed that organization, and we're going to be looking forward to those free tickets and going to the game and supporting you. But since it's fresh in your mind, what would you have done differently about the transaction or about the startup operations involved with developing that organization out?
But it's only 3 months. But I'm one of those guys, and Professor, tell me if I'm unique or the same as everybody else. I never look back.
You're not the same.
But I never look back on a decision. You know, people keep on asking, Rocco, you're working so hard. Do you regret making? No, let's move forward. You know, let's move forward and realize that in any situation that you're going to have problems. Now, my biggest problem with the Cosmos is not losing the money. Frankly, I do have plenty of money to waste at my stage, all right? My biggest problem with the Cosmos is that I don't control my destiny, meaning for the Cosmos to succeed, the soccer professional leagues that I'm involved in also has to survive. But I don't control whether the owners of the other team's going to fail or succeed tomorrow. You follow me? So the other thing that I want to add to what you were saying before is one of the trades that it's never taught, at least I was never taught that, and you need it to be very successful as an entrepreneur, as a businessman. You need to know how to negotiate, okay? You need to know how could I, not beat him, right? But how could I negotiate a good deal for me without screwing him, all right? Because I think the best deals are with both sides of the table. Yes. Feel good about it, right? But all my dealings, and you know, we did $3.6 billion of acquisitions, you know, $20 billion of finance. All of those are negotiations. What do you know, they start with a price, you gotta lower the price. I remember one negotiation that I had. Okay, I'm gonna make everybody laugh over here. Chuck Dolan, he owns the Knicks, big company, and so I was a little guy. Big, he's shorter than me, but he's big, big company. So this is 1997, they're putting these assets on the market that they want to sell, rural markets in Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, and so on. Absolutely assets, cable systems that they didn't care for because they were a city type of, New York City type of cable company. And he says, Rocco, because of what you did for me, you know, not him personally, but a CFO, you know, what you did for me 30 years ago and helping financing me Long Island and so on and so on, I'm going to give you a crack. You go and raise the money, you got the deal. Boom, boom, I go and raise the money, you know, $300 million. I walk in the next day, he says, no, we can't put it on, we can't give it to you right now. Not him, again, was the CFO. I said, what are you talking about? He says, you know, well, we're a public company. We've got to put it up for bid. We just can't give it to you like that. I took the table and I literally flipped it up the desk. So all my bankers, I had Chase Manhattan Bank, you know, 3 bankers reporting. They all got scared. They'd never seen a scene like that, right? But look what it did. The next day they called me up and said, Rocco, you know, just because of all the work that you did, okay, in getting us to this level, we're going to give you our G5 to go and do the due diligence in the 7 states that you had. Well, I had another problem the next day. I didn't have any people corporate. Now, to show that I had a real company, I had to go and hire a consultant so I could fit them in the plane. All right, so I could go around the due diligence. We was a real company here. I won that deal at the end of the day. I got that deal, and that was an important deal. So negotiations, so it was wise for me to pick up the table and throw it up in the air. That's why I say I don't regret anything that I've done. You know, that played its part.
That's great. That's great.
I don't know if I'd call that negotiation.
My type of negotiation.
It's a special tactic. Right, right.
Scaring the hell out of people.
So you all have talked about in your talks today and in your responses just now how entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs find a way or make a way to drive change in the organization. So Shifi, I'll start with you. In a few words, what motivates you? Because obviously you need a lot of passion to flip over a table and influence and negotiate. What motivates you?
When we protect a lot of products that consumers buy in emerging markets, and before we started scaling into those markets, they really didn't have a good way to tell if what they're buying is authentic or not. So you can imagine a mother of 2 walk into a pharmacy, with a child with malaria, buying a pill, and it turns out it's cornstarch, which is scientifically proven not to cure malaria, but will certainly take your money, and watching them walk away with effectively a death sentence. It's just unconscionable. So walking into shops and seeing consumers realize that they've become self-aware, and the less literate mother talking to the pharmacist in a white coat saying, I want to check to make sure it's authentic. I don't really believe you just yet. I have this tool called a cell phone. I can verify the product, make sure it's authentic. Just seeing people gain that level of consciousness, it's just a paycheck sufficiently large. I don't need much more than that. So it's really fulfilling to see consumers enjoy these innovations that come to life. And it makes you wake up feeling responsible to millions of people around the world.
Great. Warner, what motivates you?
To develop new things like what you're doing. I don't mean to be pandering myself to you, Jason.
No, come on, that's okay.
But what I've enjoyed all of my life is building something, a program that people find attractive and will come to. So that developmental process has been a tremendous motivator for me all of my career. And if I can't continue to learn how to do that, then I got to hang it up.
Yeah.
So far, I'm not hanging up anything, except my voice.
Absolutely. Rocco, what motivates you?
Well, I think was 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years ago, I would say, fear of failing. Probably the single greatest motivator. Today, it's hard for me to fail in business anymore, okay? Business is doing extremely well. My debt load is down. We do have, by the way, you should feel sorry for you. I'm the most indebted man in America, probably, all right? I got $2.7 billion of debt. But like my mother was 96 years old. Nobody will give you that money if there's not something underneath, all right? She's smarter than me, and she's got a third-grade education. I think for me personally, at my stage, is that I hold in my hands, the future of the people that work for me, okay? People that, and you know how it works. I mean, Time Warner, I go back to Time Warner. Time Warner got sold. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people at Time Warner Center lost their jobs, okay? I have you've been to my corporate office.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of people that, if there's no corporate office, maybe none of them will have a job. And so that's a tough decision. From all the investment bankers that come into my office, I should have sold 5, 10 years ago, okay? Literally, they've been coming there every day now, all right? Used to be less frequently. But, I hold a big responsibility in my hands. And I think that's part of the reason why I get this morning I got at 8 o'clock, 10 to 8, from Saddle River, New Jersey. Went upstage so I could come downstage, watch my soccer game. By the way, Juventus won today, all right? That's my team. I come down to see you guys down Wall Street at my age. So, people like me should be doing these things. You follow me? So I'm working as hard as I ever did, and proudly. Yeah. So, as my mother says, and I'll tell her that I said this to you, work never kill people. It's other things that kill people, okay? Drinking, drug, whatever, right? But work never kill people. So if you enjoy what you're doing, keep on doing it. And I'm going to keep on doing it as long as I could say that.
That's great. That's great. So Ashifi, I'm going to sign us off on the last question for you. Talks at Columbia is a platform that allows a wide range of stakeholders to learn for life, right? It's a lifelong learning platform that we can take content that we've talked about here today and other topics that we talk about around the country and drive it through a variety of channels so people can learn new things that allow their professional careers to flourish. Understanding that the audience here today and the content that we are generating now that will be distributed through YouTube and through a variety of other channels will reach high school kids, college kids, graduate students, working professionals, senior executives. How would you summarize what we've talked about today for those audiences that will allow them to be lifelong learners, that they can learn something from this and be better professionals?
There's a lot to learn from trying new things. We've talked about risks today. We've also seen a picture of success. But none of it will happen if you don't agitate yourself and push yourself to gain the level of awareness, conviction, and passion to discover what we really, really love to do without making a change in where you are today. And so if you really enjoy what you do, what can you do to enjoy it even further? If you do not like what you're doing, why are you still doing it? There are several options available, even though they may not be apparent today, they will become apparent with change. And so keep improving upon what you're doing. Dig deeper if you're passionate about what you're doing, and seek a change if you're not, and things will work out.
Thank you. Well, I would like to thank our speakers and panelists today, Dr. Warner Burke, Dr. Ashifi Agogo, and Mr. Rocco Camiso. Let's join me in thanking our panelists today.